Whoa guys, can you believe it is still 2020 and COVID just happened a few months ago? I totally didn't wait 4 years to make part 4. So there's a few new updates with my virus simulator. The first one is that the map is now 8 times as large, so it looks like a Menger sponge. And then next I have a graph here that shows the number of cells. Healthy is 396 because now there's almost 400 healthy cells in this pink color. So let's create 2 different strains of virus, each with its own genetic code, which you can edit using this UI on the right, like this, and compare how quickly each one ravages this human's body. First, let's create a basic 5 codon virus. To do this, we'll start with the command move hand inward, because we want the cell's green hand to point towards the cell's nucleus, where the genetic material is. Next, we're going to move the hand to relative genetic location 0. We want to bring the hand to point to where the virus's own code injection is. We want to read this code block. We're going to read from -1 up to 0, 1, 2, 3. So it's RGL -1 to 3 like this. And now this code block is in our memory. After this, we're going to move hand outward to prepare to eject something. And we do that by clicking right. And that will spit out whatever's memory out into the cytoplasm. That should be enough for baby's first virus. And we can see a preview of that virus kind of transparently on the left here. And I can drop this virus into the blood vessel by clicking and dragging, like that. And now the UI says viruses in blood 1. Now over here, you can see this is the cell's native DNA. This is what the cell wants to do itself. But as soon as the virus hits the cell wall, it injects its own code into the DNA, which is indicated with these green squares. But the cell is kind of oblivious. See this like interpreter white trapezoid thing? It is completely unaware of the fact that it has just been hijacked. It's following orders just like normal. So as it comes around, it's doing normal commands, but it's doing the virus's command first and foremost. Now it's moving the hand inward, like we said. Now move the hand to where the virus's DNA is. Read what's there. It just read the 5 codons of the virus. Point the hand outward, and finally, produce what you knew in your memory, which is an exact clone of the first virus we produced. This is not the first virus particle, it's like the child of it. And the cell produced it itself, the cell got hijacked. Now the thing is, the virus's DNA at nowhere says kill the cell. We think of viruses as deadly, but this one isn't. So the interpreter just keeps going round and round. All these other codons keep cell upkeep, like remove waste, repair the cell wall, stuff like that. But then when it comes around again, it's going to produce another copy of the virus. And eventually more and more virus particles will build up in this cell, and it'll burst from too high pressure. But that's going to take a long time, and I wanted this to be a competition. So let's create another strain of virus with another codon at the end that deliberately kills the cell. And that'll also release the particles, and maybe that'll help it spread faster to other cells. So let's see what happens. We also have to change the RGL to 4 because now we're including 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we do this, and this will be the next strain of virus. Oh, the original one just produced another virus particle. So now there's 3 in there.
Battle number 1. Basic 5 codon virus versus kamikaze 6 codon variant.
So the original strain is green, the new one here is blue, like look at that circle in the middle. I'm going to release it in this direction. Don't worry about that. So when you see the number of cells on the, first let's look at this guy. So the code got injected into this virus, and it's a 6 codon virus. And at the very end of it, it says remove wall, which is something different from what our original cell did. There's no remove wall here. So as it comes around, it's going to do the exact same thing, but as soon as it produces a blue virus particle, like the child, it's going to kill itself. And I want to watch it because we got to see all these pivotal moments. So it moved the hand towards it. It read 6 codons into memory. The memory's down here. Moved the hand outward, produced a copy of the blue cell, and then it's going to die. Because when you remove a wall, a cell with no wall is dead. So the virus particle is back into the wild. And you can see that when it says viruses in blood 1, viruses in cells 5, and it's going to float and find its next victim, which looks like it's going to be kind of far because it's heading in that direction. Our original green cell is still holding on fine, even though the cell wall gets thinner and thinner. Now that the virus particles, every time they bump into the wall, it gets thinner, and it's going to be harder and harder to repair the wall. But let's watch as the blue virus infects its next victim. So here we go. This is the original cell's DNA, and the 6 codon injection has just happened. Let's read. Okay, first I want to make sure that this guy doesn't die when we're not looking. It's getting really thin though. Wall health 17%. But if it can make a whole cycle and reach the repair wall command again, then it should be fine. This one's almost around again, but it's gonna die. When you read this graph, the dark green, it means the green virus. But if it's dark, that means those are virus particles in the cell. If it's light, that means virus particles that are in the bloodstream. So I just want to make sure we look at this guy producing the next one. So it produces the grandchild of the original blue virus, then kills itself. And then this one's actually going to inject the one right next to it like that. So that's fun. But I just want to make sure I don't miss this guy if it dies. Oh, 9% health, 8% health, 3% health, but it just barely hit the repair wall command. So it survived, but it's barely holding on by a thread. Let's focus on the number of cells. So CH stands for cells that are healthy. CB stands for cells that have been afflicted by the blue virus. And CA stands for cells that have been afflicted by the A virus. Let's just watch this one first, because the cell wall is getting so thin, it's at 3%. I don't think it's gonna make it, it's gonna burst. The cell wall is gonna die, and then all 6 green viruses have been released into the bloodstream and are affecting a whole swath of other cells nearby. Now, okay, CA is for cells of the green variant. The first number tells you how many cells have been afflicted by the virus, and the second number tells you how many cells have died. So right now, of the green virus, there are 4 cells that have been, 5 cells now that have been infected, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1 cell has been killed. Whereas for the blue virus, only 1 cell is currently infected right here, that's the only infected one, and 4 cells have been killed. So as it stands right now, blue is winning. Blue has a higher kill count, but green is infecting more cells, so maybe that tide will turn as more time passes. One of the pros of the blue disease, if your goal is to infect, is that you kill and get out of there as fast as possible. There's no waiting for more viruses to be produced. So that's why the first deaths happened in the blue sector. But there's no exponential growth, there's only ever 1 blue virus particle floating around. Whereas with the green one, we have a whole 7 cells that are infected right now. Even though only 2 have died, 5 are infected, or it's gonna move up to 7 the next time it records. But okay, this one's about to die, that one died. Every time a green cell dies, there are potentially 3 to 5 to 7 future green cells that will die in its wake. As you see this graph, you can see that there's a thicker green line at the top. That's the population of cells that are alive but have been tampered by the green virus. And that is getting a little bit wider at 7. There's still 377 healthy cells. If we zoom out and look at the whole ecosystem, this human still looks kind of healthy if you just ignore the left side. The doctor might not notice anything is wrong yet, but that may change eventually. You can see bursting happening, so that's all the green ones at the bottom. This one, the cell wall, is not gonna survive. These 6 are going to escape. Sometimes you'll see virus particles not injecting their code because the cells have already been afflicted by something. I like to think that that's because there's too much genetic material in the nucleus as it stands and it just can't fit anymore. I know it doesn't really make sense in a physical sense, but that's how I like to think of it. So where's the blue virus particle? Blue virus particle is right here. This is the one and only. So right now this is the one blue infected particle. Why does it say 2 there? That doesn't make sense. Okay, maybe something is wrong with my code. Why is there -1 there? I don't know what's going on, okay? The numbers can be off by 1 or 2 just because the way I'm counting it is a little jank. But in general, it's pretty much correct. I think it's only going to ever be off by 1 or 2. What will happen is the dark blue band on the number of cells graph tells you how many cells the blue virus has killed, and that will get thicker and thicker, but only linearly. Whereas the dark green band tells you how many cells the green virus has killed, and that should grow either exponentially or as a logistic curve, because as 3 blue 1 brown says, every exponential curve in the real world is just the start of a logistic curve. Because once you reach the carrying capacity, it has to taper off. VA stands for number of virus particles of the A variant, the green one. And the first number is the number that are in the bloodstream, and that's the bright green, the most visible. And the second number, 84, tells you how many green virus particles are in cells. So that is much, much higher because as it stands, there's many more green virus particles in cells than are actually floating out in the bloodstream, which makes sense because green infected cells build up a lot of virus mass before ejecting it into the wild. Green is really starting to eat away, it's actually eating away this whole corner. And I just want to point out there's green on this side too. You might wonder why. It's because this whole place loops over. It's like hyperspace. Once you go off the left edge, you end up on the right edge. So this virus is starting to spread to the point where doctors might be why is this whole swath of your body eliminated? This infection eating away at your flesh. Again, these numbers will be about off by 1. 10 cells have been killed by blue, but now 25 have been killed by green. And that trend will just keep continuing. Also, another new feature I added to the virus simulator is this playback speed. which I feel like is a no-brainer. You know, once things start to make more sense, you can just like fast forward by clicking. So this is now at triple speed, you know, everything's happening much faster. So if we click on each cell, it's like we're watching it play back 3 times faster. The physics, of course, is the same. It's just faster playback speed, in case you get bored. Now we're at the point where under 300 cells are healthy. A quarter of cells have been infected or killed, and 3/4 are healthy. One interesting thing to note about this virus code injection is that there is some randomness involved in where the code gets injected. See, the way I have it set up is that when a virus particle hits a cell, like let's say this one, wherever the interpreter is, the injection gets added right behind it. So that means that like it'll always have to do an entire repetition of the interpreter going around before it reads the virus particle. But what this means is, like, what happens if the interpreter is right before this write command when a code gets injected? Well, that actually means that there will be essentially 2 write commands in a row. The first one being the actual write command from the virus itself, and the second one being the original write from the cell's DNA. And so this will actually result in the virus being twice as virulent, like producing twice as many virus particles. The thing is, the virus can never really plan that. Where is the blue virus? I can't even find it. Right now, 102 cells have the green disease. Like you can see, that looks like about 100. Now it's 104. Where is the blue one though? Either the blue virus is in a cell and it looks blue, or it's just, oh, there it is, there it is. This is the only blue virus, and it was kind of hard to find. You know, it's gonna bounce right off this wall because a cell cannot accept 2 virus injections at once. So anyway, what you're noticing are these sort of curves upward. Like the number of green viruses is now over 500. It's curving upward because it's exponential. If every green virus produces 5 green viruses in the next generation, we'd have an exponentially curving upward curve. And then that is also being seen on the cells graph curving downward because we're eating away at the living cell population. I guess we just have to watch from afar. Let's see if we can find the blue virus. I kind of lost track of it. Oh, there it is. This is the one blue virus. Do you know that Mario game on the Nintendo DS where you would like use the stylus and like they'd have like a whole bunch of moving heads of Yoshi, Mario, Peach, and you have to like find Luigi as the Luigi head like moves behind the Marios and Peaches of the world? That's what this is, because even though blue and green are very different colors, when it's surrounded by these other codons, it kind of does camouflage pretty well, especially when you zoom out. Like you can't see it at all, so I have to keep my eye out for that. Okay, look at that. The doctor's gonna be like, you're half dead, like half your cells are gone. Right now, it's about equal thirds. About 1/3 of cells are still healthy, 1/3 of cells are infected, and 1/3 of cells are gone. But the blue virus will get less and less effective as more cells get eaten away, because it relies on cells being close by each other so that it can quickly kill a virus, leave the scene, go into another virus, kill it, leave the scene. It's kind of like a hitman who just jumps from city to city. So it needs those cities to be close together. But since so many of those cities have been eaten away by the green virus, it's being less and less effective. So it might only get 13 deaths ever. The green virus is more of like a vigilante militia. They recruit more and more people to do the killing, and this happens. At this point, just about half of cells are killed. Okay, this is looking really bad for our patient. We have over 1,000 viruses floating somewhere in the ecosystem. So what is the lesson here? The lesson is just that it may be more helpful to rely on having the cell get killed by natural forces, and you will spread much further. But if you want to like assassinate someone, okay, I don't want YouTube thinking this is going the wrong way. If you want to like someone to flunk a test, instead of grabbing their test and writing all the wrong answers on it and submitting it to the teacher, you're gonna get caught. Instead, you should convince the student to write the wrong answers. Give them brainwashing, give them like delusional facts that if they get Fs, they actually have a higher chance of becoming Bill Gates or something. And then the student themselves will cause their own demise. We're having the cell kill itself by having its own cell wall get so weak that it dies. The green virus itself has caused 0 deaths. So at this point, we only have 1 oh no, oh my god, the last healthy cell just died. I don't know, it was my mouse was right over it, but you can see CH equals 0. That number is correct, by the way. 0 healthy cells, which means every single cell is on a ticking time bomb. Once you're infected, there's no way to like survive forever. Why is this one is 0? Because it ran out of energy. I didn't even know that could happen. See, like the lightning bolt in the center says how much energy you have, but once you run out of energy, you freeze and become. It's kind of like in Five Nights at Freddy's, you know, like the lights turn off and like Freddy shines the eyes at you. But when you have no energy, you can't even exert energy to eat food, which is what gives you energy, so you have no chance of ever recovering yourself. So now there's only 13 living cells and 359 dead ones. That looks like about 13, right? And blue never killed another cell. It only killed 13. I don't think it's even worth finding it. There's 1,374 virus particles in the blood and 68 in cells. You will notice that the rate at which you hear the bursting and killing and death slows down now because there's fewer cells for activity to happen, fewer explosions, so like everything does slow down. This is the end of the logistic curve where everything curves off as we reach carrying capacity. And now we have just 6 living cells left. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because all of them have been hijacked by the green virus's mission statement of produce more of me, none of them will survive. So now there's only 5 left. These cells have no antiviral processes. Like there's no like white blood cells that can like try to strip out the bad DNA. And I don't know if like real life human cells have that technology. I do think there's like some devices that move along the DNA and try to like double check it with the original DNA to make sure that it doesn't have any cancerous tumors. These cells are not that smart. And I don't know if it's going to survive. It's going to survive. Was this the last one? Oh my god, it burst. Okay. No, there's still one left. Okay. I know there's still one left because when the final cell dies, you'll hear sad music. Healthy cell 0. Okay, these numbers are off by 1 again. I need to fix that. But when this cell dies, it should play sad music, but it might not play sad music because the numbers are off by 1. But we'll watch it. Okay, so the wall health is at 15%, but it's going to hit the repair wall, so it's going to survive. It's really holding out. We are about 1,000 ticks since we started, which I know that has like no reference. Like you don't know how long a tick is. And there's already 6 green virus particles inside of it. So it's basically doomed. And, you know, even if the simulation doesn't play the sad music, I'll edit it in post because I want you to feel how sad this is. Oh my god, it's so thin, it's not gonna make... It made it! It made it another round. It's gonna make it to this repair wall, and it's gonna be told to make an 8th copy. So it's not really a blessing that it survived at all. If it does. Is it? No, it's not gonna make it. Well, it died, and I'm playing sad music in post. But that's basically it for the simulation. We've reached what I like to call the heat death of the simulation, because it's a lot like the heat death of the real universe. Now that like viruses have taken over, there is no gradient, no sort of like force to be like broken down. Time kind of stops ticking because there's no events, no chemical reactions. Everything is at equal temperature everywhere. So in the end, we had it took about 950 ticks to die, but the overall takeaway you can learn from this is that the original 5-codon virus strain did way better than the modified 6-codon strain that was modified to be more deadly. You can see that in this graph by the fact that there are 382 cells that died by green and only 13 or 14 that were killed by blue, which is kind of embarrassing for blue even though they had the upper hand. But what if we tripled the number of write commands in the virus's DNA? Would that make the virus more potent? Let's find out. On the left side of the map, I'm going to create the original virus again to compare. And that goes move hand inward, move hand to 0, read -1 to 3, move hand outward and right. And I'm going to pause the simulation just so that I can like drop the virus in. And now let's create the triple write variant with 3 write none commands like this. The genetic range will be -1 to 5 this time. If I click and drag and place it all, now you can see 2 sister variants side by side. Make your predictions for which variant you think will kill off more cells, and what percentage of cells will they kill off.
Battle number 2. Basic 5-codon virus versus triple write commands.
So I'll click play in 3, 2, 1, go. And they're off. So here's the cell's original DNA, and the green virus injects its 5 codons, and the blue one injects its 7. For every repetition, the green virus will hit this write none command once, producing 1 green baby, whereas for the blue virus, every repetition, it'll hit 3 write commands and produce 3 blue babies. Pretty self-explanatory. So as this comes around, we're going to see it execute the virus's DNA. It's reading the 5 codons of the green virus. It's moving it outward. It's going to produce it like that. And then on this side, right on its tail, the blue virus makes 3 blue copies. And because the blue virus's whole genome is slightly longer, the blue cell will operate slightly slower, but that's fine. Now in the graph, it says there's 2 green viruses in the whole ecosystem because it's the 1 particle you see here and the 1 green virus that's injected itself into the cell's actual DNA. And the same thing for the blue virus being 3 that you see here plus the 1 in the DNA to make 4 in the whole ecosystem. So the green virus just finished its 2nd cycle, so that's why there's 2 particles now. And the blue one's about to create its next set of triplets, which will move it up to 6. And as we expect, the blue cell wall is much thinner than the other one because there's more internal pressure bouncing against that wall more often, wearing it down. So I would expect the blue one to die faster. Of course, it depends on when that repair wall command actually gets hit. That really affects when the cell will actually die. But as we keep going on and on, the blue cell will amass things so much faster that it's looking really weak. Wall health down to 12%, and it's going to rate 3 more. It is just not going to survive much longer. Okay, it's dead. It is dead. So the 6 blue cells, so the 6 blue viruses are out in the wild. They're off to start their own calamities in their own cells, whereas the green original cell has not even reached the point where it's going to die yet. So this one's already on its way with its own injection of 7. Whereas here, oh, this is actually going to die very soon. Well, 1% left. Okay, it died too. Well, that was a lot faster than I was expecting. So, oh, but this one, oh yeah, this one got infected right away. So both the green and blue variants are on their 2nd generation now. For cells afflicted with virus A, the green one, 2 are ill, 1 is dead. For cells afflicted with B, 6 are ill and 1 is dead. And 385 cells on the whole, like this, are healthy. So it's pretty self-explanatory that, well, the blue virus probably will infect faster because it's just producing more children. The branching factor is much higher. Although it could be argued that because the genome is longer, these cells will operate slower, but I guess we just gotta run through time and see what happens. So another blue cell died, and this one's right on its tail, down to 12% health. Will it be able to produce more blue children before it dies? Some like last children before death? So it produced 1 and then it dies. So that is too sad. But as it stands, you can see there's about 40 blue cells in the whole ecosystem and about 10 or 11 green cells, which is about a 4-to-1 ratio. And by the way, I fixed the bug with these graphs, so now these numbers are perfectly accurate. If you're curious, the off by 1 error happened because sometimes cells die while they're perfectly healthy and uninfected with viruses, but that would count as being infected by virus -1, and that shifted all the array indices off, which caused certain deaths to be interpreted as infections and infections to be interpreted as healthy. It was just a mess, and now it's fixed. But as we expect, blue is easily eating up much more territory than green. I mean, look at this whole area here. It basically has a blue perimeter, whereas green is trying to like stake out its own territory, but it's losing a lot of ground. We have 8 cells infected by green because green also has green is spread up to here somehow. 8 green cells are infected versus 35 blue. And that's just counting the cells that are still alive. Okay, let's slow it down. We have about half the population being infected in some way or another, and at this point, blue's dominance has actually expanded over green with a ratio of about like 6-to-1, which is what you expect when there's exponential growth, right? Green seems to be only scoring infections sporadically. Like, it doesn't have a single area that it's like the expert in. It just kind of like randomly picks places around the map that blue hasn't gotten to yet, like over here. What's crazy about blue is like whenever blue reaches a new region, it just fills its cells to the brim with the most high concentration of blue viruses ever. So when it bursts, like right here, it's gonna burst, you know, it just releases a lot more children into the wild. And what I think is kind of cool about that, why won't this cell die? Oh, it just died right there. It's like this whole sea, like kind of the sea where the whole infection started, if you zoom in, there's just way more blues floating through the sea than greens because blue creates surplus, abundance, whereas green kind of like goes with the bare minimum, and that's just not enough. So now we have less than half of cells, less than a third even, are healthy. 103 cells are currently ill with the blue virus, whereas 147 of them are dead, which I kind of expected. And 12 cells are sick with the green virus, whereas 20 cells were killed by the green virus. The last region of the human body that hasn't been afflicted with cells is right here, which is sort of like the anti-node to where we started, like the exact polar opposite because it, you know, loops over. And the thing is, you know, even the cells that are entering this region are blue first and foremost. They're the first pioneers into this new landscape. Green has the technical skills, it knows how to do it mathematically, but it just doesn't have the raw manpower, the raw numbers to win out. Right now, only like 7 or 8, well actually 8 cells even have the green virus, and none of them are close to the fertile land right here. Whereas 92 of them are blue. So it's just obvious who's going to win this battle. I think we all could have predicted this, but not this starkly. See, out of the 4 right commands we added, 3 of them go into the blue's DNA, and 1 of them goes into the green's DNA. So I would have guessed 75-25 to be the correct ratio. but it's a lot closer to 90-10. There's only 2 green cells left that are alive, right here and here. Let's zoom in to see how it's doing. The thing is, there's a lot of blue viruses just floating in the soup of the cytoplasm if all green cells died off. So they could bring back the green species. But there's only 82 green virus particles floating in the cytoplasm versus 1,200 blue particles. I don't think green will score a single another cell because all the ones that are still healthy are just so far tucked away in blue territory. That's it. There's only 1 green cell alive left. I don't think it can get to the other territory fast enough. Because, yeah, it's going to produce another one. It's probably going to die before it gets... Yes, it's at 1% health. It is not going to survive. Die! Oh my god, it was at 0.0 for a while. So those 4 green viruses have to somehow make their way all the way across this ocean to here, where we have... Oh, there's 1 more green cell here, but this is the last healthy cell, and then it's gone too. No more healthy cells. See, CH cells healthy, it's 0. So every single cell is afflicted with something, and there is still 1 last green cell that's holding on, and it might be the last one to die, actually. If we look at this whole set, think about it. All the cells infected with blue are producing blue viruses so fast that their cell walls are just bursting, whereas the green one is much, much slower. The green one, it may be the last survivor, so that's kind of the funny last laugh situation. That's my prediction though, and the cell wall is getting pretty thin, so I actually am not so sure if my prediction is correct. All these viruses that are floating in the cytoplasm are useless now because there's no healthy cells left to infect. But this blue virus is at, what, 6% wall health? It is faring much worse than its green neighbor, and it died. So now we have only 10 living cells. This cluster on the west and this cluster on the east. Well, the cell wall is getting really thin here. Is it going to survive? 10%, but it's reaching a repair wall command, so it comes back into surviving. Whereas these guys, well, this is going to be a long way before it gets to repair wall, so I don't think it might not survive with only 18% health. 5 living cells. 1, 2, 3, 4 living cells. Wait, there's another one somewhere? Oh, there's only 4. 5% health. Will it survive? Okay. Ooh! Oh, it barely survived again. But notice how all the sound effects stopped. Only 3 living cells. These are the final 3. Okay, only 2. This is the final 2. We can zoom in here. And this guy's gonna die. This guy's gonna die so fast. He's at 4% health, but the repair wall command is so far away. It died. I was actually right. The cell infected with the green virus was the last one to survive. And it's actually gonna survive another repetition. Because the virus was less deadly, like maybe you could think of it as like the swine flu, which had a fatality rate of only 0.1%. It actually lasted much longer than a virus that completely ravages through a society. If we look at our graph, you can see that like there's a very, very thin bright green line. You see like it's kind of flickering in and out of existence. That represents this cell. And it's crazy because these curves of this logistic curve, you would expect them to hit 0 or hit 1, but they're only asymptotically reaching 0 or 1. They never quite actually get there. There we go, 5 viruses in the last cell. It's been about like 120 ticks of just 1 cell being alive. Oh wait, it's getting really thin now. 2%, is it gonna make it? It might not make it. Oh, it died, it died. Well, there we go. And the sad music did trigger this time because the numbers are accurate. So, final tally. 34 cells, or about 9%, were killed by the green virus, which was the original that only had 1 write command in the DNA. 362 cells, or about 91%, were killed off by the blue virus, which had a triple write command. It took only 662 ticks, which is about 1/3 faster than the first run, because the blue virus was so relentless. Well, now we've tried the standard 5 codon virus, along with the remove wall variant that did much worse, and the triple write variant that did much better. What if we tested the variant with both the 3 write commands and a remove wall command? How will that one compare to the current frontrunner, the triple write? So now we have our final head-to-head, blue versus green, triple write versus triple write plus the remove wall command. Which one do you think will infect faster?
Battle number 3. Basic triple write versus triple write plus kamikaze.
Make your predictions and we'll find out in 3, 2, 1, go! And they're off again. Now this time, both viruses have 3 write commands, so every cell that's infected will become a powerful machine that just churns out virus particles left and right. The blue virus is exactly the same as before, but the green virus is the record longest we've ever seen at 8 codons. Oh, a cell in the wild just died. And it was healthy, I don't know why. So the blue virus is going to create 3 clones of itself, which is pretty standard, we've seen it a billion times before. But I want to check the green one, which is going to create 3 clones of the green one and then die. intentionally removing the wall. So it dies much faster without waiting for osmosis or high pressure to actually kill off the blue viruses. And these new cells are also being infected by the green virus pretty quickly because it died and then burst. By the way, I am curious, so let me just zoom out, find the cell that died right there. I don't know what happened here. Maybe just by bad luck, there weren't enough red food particles to enter the cell and it starved to death. You know, you sometimes get bad luck of the draw sometimes. Anyway, the blue virus has made a second repetition now, and it's producing its next set of 3 viruses, but it still hasn't burst. So on the little sheet here, we see that another green cell just died. So the green virus has killed off 3 cells, and the blue virus has only killed off 0 cells. The green virus has killed off 4 cells now, because when a cell is infected with green, it is destined to die after just 1 repetition, because that remove wall is unambiguous. There's no chance for redemption there. But this blue cell is not going to survive because, you know, it just had such bad wall health by that point. So we do have our first blue death, as you can indicate by this 1 under cells affected by blue. And the first cell got infected by blue. It is spreading, but right off the bat, there's already more green on the map than blue. But maybe blue just needs to catch up, because every time a green virus dies, like right here, this one's going to die, it spreads 3 and exactly 3 children to the next generation. But when a blue virus dies, it could be filled with anywhere from 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, maybe even 12 virus particles, which is a much wider branching factor to the next generation. So which strategy actually ends up on top? Only time will tell, but as it stands, the green virus has killed off 20 cells, and the blue virus has only killed off 1, although it has infected 5 in the second generation. So this is a very good side-by-side. This blue virus here is filled with maybe 6 blue particles, which is a number that the green virus will never get to. It's kind of like 2 different strategies to investing. The green disease is like day trading. Each day is only 1 cycle of the interpreter around the genome. Whereas the blue virus is like investing in the S&P 500. Lower returns in the short term, but more safety on the long term of years. So I don't know what will actually happen when you look at these graphs. Maybe the blue section will start to curve up as those delayed returns start to come into effect. But only time will tell, so maybe we just gotta let it run for a bit. We've reached about the halfway point, which means that about half of cells are still healthy and the other half is either infected or dead. But what's interesting about looking at the map is that it looks more speckled and like dotted than the previous 2 runs. Like the cells that are infected are kind of like a smattering all over the place with holes randomly, and it's not like a single wave that's burning across the forest. And my theory for this is that the green virus kills a lot more quickly, which means that it doesn't have time to build up on this single line, this front that moves across the population. When a green cell makes it to a certain region, it infects it and then kills it and moves to the next one before really even like the neighbors get a chance to also get infected. That's my theory, at least. So let's watch this cell in the middle of nowhere. It's producing child number 1, child number 2, and its final child before suiciding right here. And now this one goes up to here and injects its material. And we have to wait for it to go all the way around, but we know how this story ends. But see these 2 children? They're gonna move to just random cells far, far away. Oh, look at that. There it is. There's part of this one now. But blues... Okay, wow, that map it like suddenly ate away really fast. I did not expect it, so much of it to be gone so quick. But blue is not doing terrible. Like, you can see quite a bit of blue like particles in the cytoplasm. Let's click on this cell, and a blue particle is about to hit it and add 7 codons to its genome, just like that. Like, I think what's different from this run versus the last run is that it feels like more of an equal match. Also, this cell ran out of energy again. Where when you look at the cytoplasm, or the plasma, I guess, it looks like about a 50-50 or maybe 60-40 split of blue and green particles. But now there's only 3 healthy cells left. That happened really fast. Now it's down to just 2, and they're all in this corner. There's only 1 healthy cell left. This is the final holdout, and there's only 1 way to access it, from the right side. If this cell dies, that would expose another wall on top, but right now this one is serving as defense, and it's blue, which means it could last a long time if you can just get to the repair wall. Cell like this, it's gonna survive, and it's gonna, you know, rebound itself. this guy, this green one just died, and this green one is going to die right after it. So this one's going to be infected by green, and now every cell is infected as we expected, and these are the final 4 cells. Wow. Oh, there's a couple there. There's a handful. It's about 8. But green is a death sentence. Like, honestly, I'd rather be infected with blue than green, because there is, like, in theory, a small chance of survival if you can keep boosting your cell wall by some stroke of miracle. Okay, 1 green and 1 blue left. So here's green, here's blue. Oh, blue just died. Green is the last survivor once again, but it has a death sentence. You know, it's a concrete amount of time which it will survive, and then it dies. And we are done. This time, it only took 428 ticks to kill off the entire population, which is a record low. And in the end, the green disease killed off 330 cells, which is exactly 5/3 or 83% of the whole population, whereas the blue disease killed off only 65 or 17%. This ratio, 5 to 6, is a little more equal than last time, and it's even more equal when you look at the cytoplasm numbers, 634 to 234. But I find that a little counterintuitive. When we did the 1v1 tests, having remove wall was actually really bad for your strategy. But in this 3 versus 3 competition, having that remove wall command actually gave the green disease 83% of the territory. Here's my reasoning for why this is. The kamikaze variants have a much faster tick rate, so to speak, but the 1 right command version had a branching factor of 1, so nothing grew. When you're stagnant, you lose to everybody. The non-kamikaze variants had much slower generations, but they at least grew at all, so they easily beat this guy. But as soon as we tested a kamikaze variant with an above 1 branching factor, its faster tick rate led to utter domination. Here's another interesting side-by-side. I'm showing you the latest 2 variants, triple right on the left and triple right plus kamikaze on the right. As expected, triple right plus kamikaze kills the patient faster, taking just 414 ticks compared to basic triple's 574, a 28% decrease in time. But that doesn't mean triple plus kamikaze is the winner in all aspects. For example, if you wanted to construct a variant that leaves the most virus matter in the bloodstream, triple plus kamikaze isn't actually a good choice because it only left 756 virus particles when all was said and done, whereas basic triple left 1,792 particles, over twice as many. That would be your go-to virus to fill a human with as much virusy goop as possible. In other words, triple plus kamikaze is an efficient killer, deploying only as many agents as it needs to and barely any more, whereas basic triple takes a sloppy splash damage approach. Throw everything against a wall and see what sticks. Triple plus kamikaze only made each human cell produce 1.93 virus particles on average, whereas basic triple made them produce 4.53, a true powerhouse. Here is the final lineup of the 4 virus variants we tested today. Anyway, thank you for watching this exploration of my virus simulator, and I'll see you in my next video. Goodbye! I'm sorry for taking 4 years to finish this series. The end, or whatever. 390. Oh my god. Full error. I don't know what it is. Oh, it didn't even exist. Okay, I noticed there's a slight error where it says dead 395 out of 396. That's because the one cell that died at the beginning without any virus didn't get registered as a death because no one killed it. So that's another bug.